Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Creator Spotlight. We really appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat as usual. Please bring on the chaos. You know, we love it. And I have two fabulous individuals with us today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves one at a time. Tony, if you want to go ahead and go first.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tony. You can find me online most places at Tony Will Edit. Um, and I am the we'll say producer, usually the host and GM, though that switches out sometimes to other folks, of the One Shot Wonderarium on the Roll for Respawn network. Also a player in our Wednesday Night Revival campaign, and sometimes a GM over there too. Um, I've been playing TTRPGs for 20 plus years or something like that. I don't know, a long time. And I am always almost always joined by my co-pilot Ramona here, who is the grumpy old lady in the room. So she's amazing, but she will at some point attack my face because she's decided I've moved too much. So just wait for that. At some point it'll happen.
That's kind of like the drinking game. When Ramona attacks your face, it's time.
Exactly.
And Tanlyn.
Hello, I'm Tanlynn. You can find me over at Five Gems in a Trenchcoat. I'm a cast member and GM over there, and I do all of the art. I'm an artist. Gremlin Frog Art, FROGJRT on everything is me, and I'm everywhere. I'm literally everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. And let's jump off with that. You are everywhere. You've been doing art all over the TTRPG space right now. So tell us a little bit about that. I've got a couple pieces too. We'll jump right in and kind of show some of that. But tell us about what you've been doing and who you've been doing it for. That you
Yeah,
can tell us.
you want, yeah. Just a lot of character art. Character art's kind of my dig. I like, D&D creatures and monsters and people. Um, I think the most I've done so far are like commissions for like people from Castleton. Now that it just recently wrapped up, I was in that for a little bit, and that was a lot of fun. And then I do all the art for Five Gems in a Trench Coat, and I feel really weird talking about myself. I'm used to getting on stream and playing a character, and now I have to be me. So it's like I don't really know what to do. Um, but yeah, I'm just everywhere. People just pop in my DMs and are like, "Hey, are you free to do art?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
Yeah, because they're seeing it everywhere. It's gorgeous, and your style. Just when I think I have you figured out, you do something else, and I'm like, oh damn, Stanley
Yeah,
too.
I just kind of like I go with vibes. I don't know if I could actually talk about that, but there's certain
Spoilers. Give us
things
spoilers.
that are
Drop the
coming up
tea.
that I'm messing around with my style for them to do it specifically for the thing that's happening. So it's like I just like I really just like finding a vibe, feeling a vibe for somebody.
Amazing. What's been your most complicated piece of art that you've done? Maybe not complicated, but like the most challenging for you in one way or another.
I maybe like the biggest piece that I've like done for somebody is probably for it was a commission for two people from Castleton. It was Jojo and Mare. Um, I don't know if you know them. They're heavy in the scene of TTRPGs, and they wanted me to do this like whole scene of them. And I think it's one of the ones that you actually chose that we have saved. And it's like 3 panels, and it was a whole thing, and it took a while for us to like kind of narrow down what exactly they wanted to portray and put together. And then I was like, we could just do like a comic, like 3 panels of the scene and like put it together in this cool like collage moment. And that one was a lot, but it was fun.
It's gorgeous. I may or may not have just shown it while you were talking.
It is
Yeah,
super gorgeous.
I love doing that one. I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of how it came out.
You should be. The art is beautiful. It's beautiful. Tony, not to leave you out over there. We jumped right into art. I don't know if you
Uh,
can do any art at all, but I have played on stream with you before, and your GMing is artful. So I will
I,
say that.
well, thank you. I have always been somebody who did a lot of storytelling to the point that in college I made it a point to, anytime someone asked me about my day, to make it a story. Um, and I found that to be an approachable. I didn't at the time. I wasn't planning on doing any actual plays or anything like that. Um, but it does. A lot of experience does help. I I do not have the patience now to make up for the patience I didn't have at a younger age, to do the like basic work that makes like right, like, how to explain this. I have always been too impatient to turn in um, art that actually I cared about. Right. I was always one that, like, quick sketch and it's done. Cool. Next thing. And as a kid, no one ever told me that, hey, you gotta like redo it and rework on it if you ever want to be good at this. Um,
Yeah, you have to actually practice.
yeah. Um, and Tanlyn, I'm sure you've spent, what is collectively years and years and years between, doodles and actually practicing or drawing things. Like, how long have you been doing, like, whether it be commissioned work or work for home games, that sort of stuff?
It's a good question. Work for home games. I've been playing like D&D since I was like 12 or 13. So really since then, like I'll just, draw my character, or like my friend will be like, "Oh, like draw my character, draw us in this scene." So I've been doing that forever. Commissioned work is actually kind of a new thing for me. I think I just recently started doing it like as like a thing I do, and advertising myself for it for like maybe like a year and a half now. Um, and what's helped me actually start doing that was like getting into the TTRPG scene and like working with 5GMs and posting that stuff, and then having more friends in the TTRPG scene being like, "Hey, I want art too." Like, dude, yes. Yeah. So it's like it's all really new and really fun and exciting.
Well, it's so I had a dumb idea when you were
Mhm.
talking about how difficult it is for you to talk about your art, where you're like, I play characters, and my first thought was, what if we created a character that was like your agent or promoter that you could then play, right?
Uh, that's really meta, and I love that. Let me just actually. I actually don't think I could.
We could get, we could turn very WWE very quickly with this,
Yeah.
right?
And in
But that was
comes
exactly
Gremlin Frog art. Oh, that's silly.
to the center ring,
Sound like a Friday night stream.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sorry, Curly, I did break kayfabe. I have watched almost no WWE, but I did have friends who brought me into backyard wrestling as a kid, so I know the words, but I got nothing beyond that.
Well, lucky for you, we're here to talk about games, so
We are.
pressure's off. You don't have to worry about it. I want to jump in to talk about silly stuff right away. I played in a stream with you where we basically were dungeon cats, and
Yes.
yeah, so both of you have played all sorts of things out there. What has been the wildest thing that you've done?
Wildest. Wildest is kind of an interesting thing. I think, like, almost like counter to what a lot of folks do. For me, I did a game recently in a game system called Ghostfi. And Shannon, if you have not played Ghostfi, this is something that actually you might dig very heavily. The idea of Ghostfi is you can use it to eulogize people or characters. So like it can be used at the end of like a game. If you have like a TPK or something, everybody can go through like their characters and actually say goodbye to them. But we created people and built their lives, and these moments that they basically had to roll dice to see whether they were holding on to these strings of life or letting them go and walking into the afterlife. And it was one of the most emotionally devastating things I have ever done in my entire life.
Rah, are you
And
still in the chat? Because
just
I
thinking
feel like
about
this
it
is something
gets
we need to play.
right. Just thinking about it gets the emotions going already. Like that's how impactful of the game it was. And it was heavy. But it was so good and so cool. That I would suggest that anybody go and find that game. I think I got it for like $15, $10 on itch. Like it was.
What's the name of it?
Ghost-fi. So ghost-fi. And it's fantastic.
I will find it and I will drop it in the chat.
Yeah, because the games we play,
those,
like as you know, go from Dungeon Cats to something like that, and we can swing wildly. So
yeah, for sure. Well, and I love that dynamic. You know what I mean? Like it's so playing, as Rara calls them, sad stories. You know, I love working with my own trauma on stream and like working through all of that stuff in a way that is like safe for me to do it. You know, like I have to be in a safe space with safe people and all of that. But like there's so much magic in bringing that stuff to life and just kind of working through it and letting that stuff out. I feel like you see things so much differently. I don't know what just happened. I haven't heard that sound before. So, but I feel like you see things so much differently when you're doing them through play. So I really, oh, it's a follower goal. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I'm all for all that kind of stuff, but the silly stuff is important too. We need that definitely in there. I'm going to drop
so important.
I'm dropping the, I hope this is the right thing. Maybe this is not.
Yes. A Ghost of Eli.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So
yeah, that looks
made
wild.
by,
I'm going to add it to my list.
I'm going to see if I can remember this correctly. It's the game is made by Eli Hauscher. I believe is the game designer's name.
That takes up too much concentration for my brain right now while I'm hosting and also running tech. So I'm going to save that one for later.
No, you're good.
We'll put it in the show notes for sure.
The fact that I remembered that is a miracle in and of itself. So
yeah,
you know,
we're going to count it as a win for you.
What about you, Tanlynn? Like, I don't know if you play mostly 5e or even within 5e. Like, what is the sort of either wildest game or wildest character? Or, you know, wherever you want to kind of go with that. That you played.
Well, so for 5GMs, we kind of like we rotate systems and GMs every season that we do. So I've tried a fair amount of different like other than 5e, but 5e is kind of like my favorite. The one that I ran was in 5e. What was the question? Cool, like
the wildest thing you've done. I know it was so long ago. My ADD sees you. I was like, I'm gonna have to repeat that. What did I ask? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can substitute something else if you don't have that wildest one. If something that you love, coolest character.
Yeah,
something you didn't expect.
Because my favorite thing about playing like TTRPGs with a group of people is like starting out as characters that don't know each other, even though you as a person know each other, and then getting there. That like those moments where you like decide your friends in game. That's what I look for. I think. Yeah, because there was a moment, me and my friend, who isn't a creator, so just my friend, we were playing like in a home game, and we like kind of started off like just enemies hating each other, and by the end of the game, we had lost. Like I'd lost her, and it was just like this whole devastating like. yeah, heart-wrenching. And I love that, because like in the beginning of the story, you never see that coming, and then you're there. And I love the development of a character through like the relationships they have with everyone else. I love it. I love it. Oh,
Same. And that vice versa too. Like when you have that, you go in with the intention of having like I go in with lots of intentions, and then the character that I'm playing has totally different ideas as I'm playing.
And it's
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, because that just reminds me of like I had this character that I thought was gonna be like a total like badass, and they just ended up being just the worst. It's like the character just tells their own story. It's not even me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Like you start talking, and then you're like, "Well, that wasn't me. That was
Yeah,
whatever.
that was
Insert
them.
character
It's
name
someone else.
here." Exactly. What were you going to say, Tony?
Oh, I was gonna backtrack a little bit back to like the moments that make these campaigns, like moments that you can kind of tell that both you as players and also the characters are bonding. And one of my friends who should be in chat right now, I'm gonna give him a shout out, Blood. Um, we were in a home game years ago, that was one of those where it was heavy all the time and it was always something going, back and forth, right? And one night our characters decided they were just going to do nothing. They found like some snacks and a bottle of wine, and we ended up spending like 3 hours role playing drunken conversations about love.
Incredible.
And it is to this day one of my favorite moments of role play that just came out of like none of us planned this, and we just sort of walked into it, and it will stick with me forever.
Yeah, I love those little cozy moments. I'm actually starting a stream coming up on Mondays, queer and cozy. That is just for cozy moments. Yeah, we're gonna play cozy games, and just I don't know. I think I was triggered because I've been playing so many antagonistic things here and there. So I was like, you know what, I need to balance this out a little bit and put something in there that's cozy. But that balance of the different types of play. Let's talk about that for a second. So you have home games, you have stream games, and they all have a different vibe to them. How do you walk through that labyrinth?
It is to me they're very, very different. Stream games, there is a level of like you have to keep more than just your player's attention, right? If we're playing right now and I'm telling something that Tanlynn's character is maybe interested in, and we make an inside joke, there's a whole lot of nothing that can happen for chat, right? And so there's these sort of pitfalls that can happen in these games when they're streamed. When at home, you can spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes on a tangent about somebody's significant other's dumb joke the other day, and you're all enjoying it together as friends. And then also like there is almost a level of freeness to the home games where when I bring folks onto my show, I am promising them a game, right? When it's my friends and I, if I fall flat on my face, it's a completely different vibe. And so I think you could easily wind yourself up in the pressure of always being on camera, and always be performing. But I think sometimes it's really, really restorative to just be, some folks sitting around a campfire, goofing about. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a certain level, I agree with you, on streaming where you're at a different level. You are on stage, so to speak. And
Yeah.
so so the risk reward, I know we all love to do it, obviously,
Oh
because we're
yeah.
doing it. But there, it's a different, it's a different thing. So, and then on the flip side, some of those home games, or even side games that aren't necessarily like repetitive home games where you're just, whatever, you go to a local game store and do a pickup game or whatever. Some people still, still do that kind of thing every now and then. There's a downside to that too, because you get spoiled a little bit by playing with the people that you're playing with online, because
Mhm.
everybody has that certain level. So I look forward to like raising my level every time I play with a new group. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the dynamic in there, where you're always kind of pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. And I find that like home games, you work on very, very different things. Home games to me are so much more about a tailored experience, right? Like I know exactly, right? Some of these people I've known for a decade, right? And I know exactly what's going to make them maybe, squirm a little bit. Obviously, not too much, right? We know lines and fails, and we have safety tools in place and all of that. But or what's going to make them go, oh, that's so cool. And so I can kind of play with that a little bit. And it's really, really fun to see my friends react to that.
You have insider information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's jump over a little bit. I want to talk about what it's like doing a stream or podcasts and things like that of this nature where you are all GMs.
Um, it's fun, but it also sometimes feels like they have cheat codes on you. I'm one of like the baby GMs of the group. Me and Kim are like the babies. Jesse and Adam are leagues ahead of us. Like they've been doing it for so much longer. And sometimes when they're not in the GM seat, sometimes I'm like, they know. They know what I have behind the screen. They can see it. They can sense it. And sometimes I think they can. I like really genuinely think they can. Um, and it's a little nerve wracking, but I've known them for so long. It's like, they're I play home games with them. Like I've known them since I was a small child. So it's like there's the it like ooh, like a there's the fear there, but there's also like they're my boys, so it's like it's fine. Um, and it's also great because you don't have to worry about like metagaming if you have like questions to ask for the bigger GMs. I know for like the most recent finished season of 5GMs, I had asked Adam a lot of questions because he's our home GM, like he's Big Papa. Um, I had asked him a bunch of questions on like certain things I was trying to do and like how I should make things work, and he gave me really good answers and also didn't metagame, and it was fantastic. So yeah.
Blood Or in the chat said it's hard to surprise a GM that you are with regularly. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, for sure. The trench coat. Where did this trench
It's
coat come
there.
from? Yeah.
It
What brought? What's the deal behind the trench coat?
it came to us in a dream. The spirit of the trench coat spoke to us on the wind. No, we were all sitting around like a table trying to like throwing names out, trying to figure out what because we were like, we're gonna do a podcast. We're like, we're just gonna do it. And I think it was Kim who was like, 5 James in a trench coat, ha ha ha. We're like, we
Everybody
actually like that.
freezes.
We all
Yeah.
froze. We're like, that's it. There we go. And now we have this lovely trench coat that we all have to squeeze into every time we go somewhere.
So,
It works.
how difficult is it rigging up mics when you're on top of each other? Is it like, do the mics?
Not as hard as you'd think. Yeah. So we have it all hang from the ceiling in a line, and that's really how we do our recordings.
You have a chandelier of mics.
They have
Yeah,
a
chandelier,
mic,
a
a mic
mic delier.
stand. They have a mic stand, and each spot holds a
Yeah,
different mic. Yeah, it's
yeah.
customized. Costs millions of dollars to have that one done.
It's yeah. No, but it is
I
great because we live really close to each other. Well, some of us live together, and we record in person, which I know is kind of like a more difficult thing for most podcasts. Most of it that I've from people that I've met, it's mostly like online and through like videos and stuff, and that I'm very grateful for. The rigging up the thing every time is it's the worst, but we get through it.
I feel like there needs to be some kind of a promo out there with your description of how the coat got started. I like your not true version.
Yeah, it's what goes on the wind.
Yes, I love it.
Everyone has a trench coat that whispers to them. That's canon.
Incredible. Incredible. That whole dynamic, that creative process, like when you've got people who are speaking your language and you can together in a room and create something from nothing is just the coolest shit ever. Like it's just
Yeah.
wild. Tony, how did your Wonderarium start?
Uh, honestly, very simply, we started Roll for Respawn uh year and 4 months ago or something like that. And we were talking about shows that have been on. I have always been a fan of lots of TTRPGs, and there was a show years back called She's a Super Geek. I don't know if y'all ever listened to it or not. But She's a Super Geek. The idea was they're doing one shots, and they're highlighting, you know, mostly female and femme presenting GMs and game designers. Um, and the show ran to its end and got shut down. And I have been chasing the high of that show like ever since. And it got me into loving all sorts of TTRPGs and trying all sorts of TTRPGs. And then I started buying these, packs, right? Like the Transrights bundle that's right now that has like 467 games in it or something. And I have all these games. What do I do with them? It's hard to get, my regular folks to learn a new game every single time. If only I could figure out a way to trick people into showing up and learning a new game with me all the time. And so I just the folks over at Roll for Respawn were like, yeah, why aren't you doing that? Do it, go. And they sort of gave me a little push. And so I just started inviting everyone I knew, basically, to be on the show. And the first couple were a little rough. Learning how to GM completely brand new games within a time limit is an art form in and of itself. So yeah, that's sort of where it came from. Is mostly just this like pile of games that I've got, right? And that's just the physical ones. Most of them are digital at all times. And it's always calling to me, play, play, play. And so I had to just find a way to actually do that. And now I get to both do that and meet really cool people from across the world. So
Yeah, the whole global thing is so wild to me. I love it.
the internet's wild.
It really is. It really is. What's some of the games that you've been playing?
Some of the games that we've been playing. So like I said, we did Ghostfire recently. We did now I have to pull up my doc, don't I? Because I'm gonna blank on these titles. And I shouldn't. I should know them. But
It's harder when somebody's asking you questions.
right. Well, and okay, here we go. There we go. So actually, just recently we played Hunted. We were set up to play. We played Death of the Author, rom-com drama bomb, 3 baddies and a baby, spell, dick punch every suit. You get a really big like Yeepaw High Raccoon. We played Lavender Marriage, Galactic Grit, Merkborg. Yeah, that's Pigeons 11 was a fun one. Bird-based heist game. So
What did Ramona think of that one?
Ramona was actually the Danny Ocean of that crime family. So she was a big fan of that. And she tasked the players. Ramona has a big penchant for popcorn. And so she tasked the players with stealing all of the popcorn from a local movie theater so that she could retire on as much popcorn as she could eat.
I love
beautiful.
It. It really is.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. So, she woke me up in the middle of the night with that plan. I went, okay, let's do it,
Bird-based heist game. Curly's in the chat. Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. He runs our, we do superhero shenanigans, which is a Mutants and Masterminds system. And he's like the guru. So if anybody needs to know anything about Mutants and Masterminds, Curly Insane Guy in the chat is who you want to talk to about that. Knows all the things. So, Tanlynn.
Hi.
Favorite system that you've done?
Well, D&D 5e, it's
okay to love that still. I'm just gonna say it.
I'm just a baby. It's it's what I started on, and I can't tear myself away from it. Though I've played, what is it, Fate Core, and I really enjoyed that one too. I liked how loosey goosey it was. You could just kind of make things work. Same with Blades in the Dark. What else? I surprisingly really liked Cyberpunk, though. It's very gritty, but it's fun, especially if you have someone who knows how to play it already. Then it's fun.
I have not played that one yet. Also, we got a hydrate from Just Brett in the chat, so thank you very much. Also, another reminder too that if you have questions for either of them that are related to basically anything in the world, you can drop it in the chat. But they can certainly answer the TTRPG questions and the art questions. But yeah, if you've got anything that you want to know, and go ahead and hydrate.
And Brett, I'm watching you. Brett and I were hanging out for a couple hours this afternoon.
I love this community. It's incredible. So we've kind of touched a little bit on the games and stuff like that, but do you have a character type that you tend to go to, or are you more the player who will jump around to a bunch of different things to kind of experience everything? Like, are you always a rogue? Tell us the facts.
Tanlynn, you wanna start with this one?
Yeah, I'm very simple. I like fighter types. I like chunky like tanks who hit hard. That's like my favorite sort of dig. I don't like heady characters. I don't do well with them. I always want to. I just don't do well with them. But that's, yeah.
I totally get the wanting to do. I played a wizard, 5e wizard, because I thought, oh, I'm gonna love playing a wizard, and I was just like, nope.
Spells, man.
I love spells. That's why I thought, okay, it'd be great. But I was just like, oh, hell no. I'm playing a sorcerer now. I love sorcerer, but like, I'll play most of them. But for the wizard, I was just like, back up. Too much going on.
Yeah.
We also got a stretch going on in here too from a Sanguine Rev. So I can stretch it out. We appreciate the support for sure. Tony, what about you?
For me, I like to jump around. I started with a type of, like, when I was real young. I always liked to be a dwarven fighter. That was my thing. And then I was in rural Kansas, like, teaching this game to anybody who would sit still long enough for me to talk. And so anytime I'd not be GMing, I would need to fill in some sort of a support role. And so I started creating characters based on what the other people at the table needed or what those pockets were. And then I started stretching that out. There was like, for me, it is nice to get to sprinkle it around. Having played for as long as I have, it helps me keep things like fresh and interesting. But also, I keep learning things both about myself and about the characters accidentally through this.
I feel that.
Yeah. So but if we are playing like a 5e style game, I do like spellcasters and things with lots of levers and knobs that I can mess with. I can really, fiddle with all the bits, basically. So I like to really have sort of a Swiss Army knife character, oftentimes. So
Nice. We do have a question from the chat. Curly Insane Guy says, is there a type of combat or role play role you've wanted to try but haven't had a chance to yet?
Ooh. I'm trying to think here. For me, there is, I think there is one, and it's more that I haven't pulled it off properly. In that it's not technically a combat role, because it would be when the player is a pacifist in combat. And that is kind of in many games, especially like 5e, right? Combat is a huge function of the system. It's very hard to actually pull off a pacifist character and do it very, very well. And so that's one I've never actually done to a satisfactory extent, if that makes any sense. I've tried it and it's gone south a couple of times with friends. So
what happens? Do you reach a point where you're just like, screw it, and then you just attack? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, either that or we all die very quickly, because the GM has balanced things for 5 combatants, and all of a sudden there are 4 combatants and one person who's like trying to help but not trying to do too much. And that is rough at times. So, yeah.
I can relate to the non-combatant because I often play the one who tries to find another solution besides fighting. And then befriending creatures is also a thing that I tend to do. So, I discovered that pretty early on. What about you, Tanlynn?
Is the question roll as in like rolling a die, or roll as in like a...
No, it's just a type of combat or role play, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think luckily for me, with 5GMs, we've done like a wide variety of a lot of things and like dipped our toes in a lot of different like sort of scenes we could do. I think something I really do want to do, like as a GM, is some like solo one-on-one GM and player character stuff. That sounds really interesting to me. Or even like two characters in one, like really small groups that all do different things that are all tying into one big thing that's happening in an overarching sort of vibe, is something I've been stewing on recently.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Sanguine Rev says, are there any really popular gaming tropes that you really don't like we all start in the tavern?
I love starting in a tavern.
Starting in the middle, ending there. I'm fine with the tavern pretty much anywhere, right? Too.
Taverns can be done so well, and also like, okay, so I'm gonna do a metaphor here real quick. Taverns to me are like pie. Really good pie is fantastic. Really bad pie is still pretty dang good, right? Bad cake, oof. Bad pie, still pretty still pretty tasty. Right? Like bottom's burnt, you can still eat the filling. You're good. You know, and so I feel like especially the tavern one is, even when it's bad, it's still all right. But like gaming tropes, it's interesting because the idea of gaming tropes, I feel like really sort of expanded when right, like places like TikTok, the gaming spheres on that really boomed, and you started getting so many of these meme character types and so many of these reuses, right? Like in my personal games, I've never played with a horny bard, but that's one of these like big tropes. I've never had it.
Same.
And so like, you know, there's some of these that like I think I would probably dislike, right? Like the perpetually horny bard, if not done properly, could be really rough. But I've never actually seen them at a table for some reason, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, I've been spoiled with really talented GMs my whole life. Or just really close friends that I play with, and we all just are all usually on the same wavelength with most things. And so like I feel like I haven't had truly negative experiences with certain ways of playing or starting a game. So yeah, I don't really have nothing I can recall as being like something I don't like as a way to start the game.
Right. One of the things that we did at one point, so we found for Roll for Respawn one day, we were on one of our talk show segments basically, and we found a sort of ranking website that had a preset one for like tabletop, specifically Dungeons and Dragons type tropes. And what we kept coming back to was that many of these could be good or could be really bad, right? Like the edgelord, if you do it very properly, it's awesome. If you just keep refusing any connection with any of the other players and to do things on your own, and that you're the only hero in this story, yeah, that's a problem. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, to pivot off of like the subversion of the negative tropes, specifically the edgelord, in our recent season 5 GMs, it's called Twisted Kingdom that I ran. One of our players, Adam, he was playing this really edgy, like young goblin fighter guy who had this really tragic backstory. Like really, you would expect to be like the murder hobo of the group, and really just like shined as a character in the setting, and grew a lot. And it was just like beautiful. I just love the subversion of like what you would want to expect from a certain kind of character, just based like surface level, and then what you get when they're actually playing it. It's magical.
I have a question for you, Tanlynn,
Mm-hmm.
in that like one of the biggest things that I not struggle with, but that is ever present in the types of like revolving cast, revolving game stuff that I do, is making sure that every single person under the sun is on the same page. Because I'm sure we've all seen games where like one person has a very different idea of the story we're all trying to tell than the rest of us. Like there's no way I would say that you and your friends always agree. Is there like how do you get on the same page if you're not, I guess, is the best way of going of asking that.
Yeah, we talk all the time. Like not just like we're friends talking, but we talk about work. We talk about what our expectations like while we're recording or when we're starting something. And that's like a big part of it. And luckily we've all known each other forever. So talking to each other isn't like a hard thing to do. We've had things that we've had to like change about like our rules for how we do things that realistically would have been really hard to do, but because we all like are open to each other and like listening to what we think, it's much easier. But yeah, I hope that answers what you were asking.
Communication and trust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
communication and trust is the biggest, is really big for us.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like that's one thing that really stood out for me when I first started streaming. The whole safety tools and lines and veils and stars and wishes and all the different things that I had no experience with until I started streaming that I now do when I'm not streaming. Like it's just part of how I play and do everything now. But there's like a whole slew of people who really don't have that awareness or knowledge. Like there's so many like local game stores and home games and things like that where there aren't those tools that are in play. And in some cases it's fine because you already have like what you have, which is that trust and communication. But if you don't have that, and that's where all these horror stories come from. You walk into a situation and it's not a it's not a safe space, or somebody brings up something that you don't want to talk about or whatever. But in terms of the safety tools and lines and veils, what do you both utilize for that on your streams and off stream?
I mostly will use lines and veils. For many folks, that's the one that people are very familiar with, and beyond that, it is really for me making sure that there are multiple lines of communication open, and especially with players I've never played with, because sometimes the first time we're actually meeting is like an hour before we ever go on stream. I don't know exactly what your personality is going to be. So I have to sometimes pay just absolutely very careful attention to people's mannerisms, especially in that tech hour beforehand, so that I can kind of tell, if we did not communicate properly, because the goal is to do everything right the first time. If we did not communicate properly, then I know when to throw the entire show to a break to make sure that we take care of the player.
I love that. Yeah. Tanlyn?
Yeah, for us, because usually we're on the same wavelength with stuff. We haven't really had issues between like the main cast. With like newer people that we're bringing on like as guests and stuff, they're most often people that we've already like talked to outside of things. And then from there we kind of get their vibe, and then we'll have our lines and veils that we send over. And that's kind of how we kind of keep it a little bit more loose, and mostly because we're not streamed, we record beforehand, and of course if there's ever like an issue, it's something that we can address then and there and cut out and figure out and make it work. So far we haven't had any issues. But yeah, communication, we're very open people. We talk to whoever talks to us, really. So yeah.
Clearly, you showed up here.
Yeah.
In terms of the whole safety tools too, I just want to do a little shout out because my stars and wishes is one of my favorite things to do. And I kind of do this like just in general in life now, but after something big happens or whatever, the stars is you're highlighting the things that were a star for you, and wishes can be anything, but something you want to change or you want more of, or whatever from there. And I'm just going to do a shout out to Excel because Extra the King, if you're following him on socials or whatever, because the first time I was in a stars and wishes with him, he went around specifically and did a star for every single person, and I adopted that immediately. I was like, that is amazing and beautiful, and there was just something about like making sure that you paid attention enough to each person that you're sharing space with to then be able to, at the end of that, say something, you know, positive or uplifting. And like just that whole thing in general to me is like such a beautiful thing to do at the end of you're spending whatever it is, 2 to 4 hours, you know, with people in a space, even if it's the only time that you ever do it, like just being able to share that experience and have that positive thing at the end of it. I just thought that was really cool. So just a little shout out. Um,
Yeah.
we're actually almost up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add one more
Yeah,
thing
go
that I
ahead.
do that I really, as you were talking about stars and wishes, there's oftentimes they're obviously different games, right? Merkborg being like generated, right? Like if you get OSR games that are, you know, more of tables that you roll on, it's a little bit harder to do. But when on the Wednesday Night Revival, I recently ran a Wild West time loop story. And when we were sitting down for a session 0, one of the big questions I had for my players was, what things would you love to see in this game? And one of them was, you know, like, we'd love to see a piano fall on somebody's head, right? And that'll, like, we'd like to see this. We'd like to see a crazy person who actually knows the truth of the world, right? We'd like these tropes to come in. And it's not a safety tool, but it is a fun tool to sometimes ask your players ahead of time, hey, what would make this the best experience for you?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
do. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Just off of that, because I do, as a GM, I love sending like character questions or like person to character questions, like, oh, what's your character's favorite color? Or if they had a theme song, what would it be? And then from that, like, oh, what's their deepest fear? And what would they hate to see go on in here? And what would you like to see? It's a fun way to start things off.
I love that whole back behind the scenes of both the player and the character that you're, you know, like, because those
Mhm.
are two completely different things. Like, what's your character's
Mhm.
backstory? What does your character love? All that kind of stuff. And then you as a player, how do you want to play that character? You know, going into it, what are the things that you like to see in there? What's more fun for you? Whatever, and that can change so much too, depending on, you know, what system you're playing and what part of if you're in a campaign, if it's a one shot, you know, I mean, like my most dramatic, you know, emotional experience was in a one shot where I was playing an Eevee because I had a character death at the end of it all. Like, and I, you know, in the 3 hours that I was playing this Eevee or whatever, with some of the players were the first time I had ever played with them, you know, but at the end of it all, like I had this big character, you know, and we were doing saying they were saying like talking about the memorial thing, they were like saying words. I did this like dramatic um where I went into uh, basically explosion, and so there was pieces of me everywhere, and you know, into like a pile of dust essentially. And so like the remains were there, so it's like you're going away. So then, you know, then there was the memorial over the remains, and it's like I'm sitting here on stream crying over an Eevee. You know what I mean? Like it's just wild to me how much you can get involved into each little element of it. Like that was a silly, we were, you know, flying down on sleds being goofy 1 minute, and then, you know, at the end of it, you're, you know, you're crying. But like that adds to it because of questions like that are added at the beginning. Like what do you want from this stream? You know, and they're two different things. And character backstory too. You know, that I could spend hours talking about that. We've got like a minute left. We could keep going. You guys would just both have to come back because, you know, we could keep going. Um, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to give you all a chance to tell everybody where you're going to be and all that kind of stuff. But um, of all the pieces of putting together a game, so whether you're a GM or whether you're a player, you know, you've got character backstories, you're naming your player, writing the settings and the scenes, like whatever, all the different pieces that go into putting a game together. What is your most favorite part of it? And what is your least favorite part of it?
Um, I, my For me, this is an easy question, because I do not have the greatest of memory, and am exhausted all the time. So a lot of my least favorite thing is pre-writing everything. Um, right, long descriptions, because I will not remember them and I will not say them right, and then I will contradict myself later because I've accidentally written something and said something else. Um, and hand in hand with that, my favorite part of a game is the moment where you forget you're playing, right? Like, because so many of my games are very, very improv, there can be a moment when it's just you and me telling a story here, and we've forgotten pretty much that everything else exists, which I think of as the flow state, right? You know, and if you can reach that where you're just watching and playing off of each other, that is the thing that fills my heart with joy.
Love that. And same. And for me, that's why I don't like to run tech when I'm playing, because I get into that flow state in about 2 minutes. I forget that I'm streaming. Tanlynn, what about you?
I'd have to agree that like writing things down, the prep of it all is the worst. Except for like when it comes to, and this goes into my favorite thing, like describing things. I mean, art, I draw, I like the visuals. I like that's got to be my favorite thing, especially when the way something is like a character is described, it informs them. Like it comes from their background. Like, oh, my character has emo hair because has a sad backstory, emo hair, or stuff like that. I love descriptions. I love art.
I love it. I love that you both came and hung out with me today. I appreciate it so much. We are at our hour, slightly over, so I am going to give you the floor. Tell everybody what you've got coming up, where they can find you, anything that you want to talk about, what like a recap of where they can find your VODs and all that kind of stuff. Tony.
All right. Yeah, you can find me mostly streaming over on the Roll for Respawn network. That's ROLE for Respawn. And that's where I host the One Shot Wonderarium, and I'm a player / GM in the Wednesday Night Revival. I do rant segments on Spawn Camp, which is our Sunday show. So, that's where I just get to, grump about things and for 5 to 10 minutes, and people have to listen to me. It's nice. And our next game for the Wonderarium, though, I wanna take a second on, because we have to skip this weekend for scheduling issues. So our next game is actually going to be the one with Shannon in it. Here, April 19th, we are playing Community Radio Edition 2. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. Community Radio is a game I've wanted to play for a very, very long time. And they put out a second edition here very recently. And so we get to delve into that. So
I didn't know that was the next game. I did not intentionally plug that.
It just so happened to work out.
I always love coming over there. Tanlynn, what have you got going on?
Quite a bit. Of course, you can find me 5 GMs in a trench coat, where I am always. I think right now we're in the middle of posting a little, like, not quite a miniseries, a little shorter than a miniseries, just like a one shot, because we are Magic the Gathering ambassadors for Tarkir. So we made a fun little game in the Tarkir setting, and that was very fun. And I think first part went up yesterday, and second part is coming up by the end of the week, something like that. I hope I got that right. And I've also been kind of just like guesting on a couple places here and there. Yesterday I was over on Game Master Monday, and I might be over at Help Action Needed with Sean and some friends. at some point soon. And then, of course, I'm always doing art for everybody all the time. Gremlin frog art on everything. And yeah. Oh, the Crit Awards stuff is coming up. And if you like my art and you've seen it and it looks cool, perhaps consider me for Best Character Artist. Perhaps. Maybe. If you so desire. That's it. That's all I have.
That was a great plug. I'm glad you remembered. I forgot because it just was today, right? Came out today.
Yeah.
There are so many incredible creators
Many
out there.
people.
Yeah, be checking all the socials. Lots of people have their, for your considerations up there, and there's some sites that have actually put up, their own recommendations of things and stuff like that. So, Hard as a Dungeon, I believe, put up their recommendations for things on a site as well, and yeah, so definitely check out what's going on. I have had a blast talking to the two of you. And we can always talk about TTRPGs all day, right? Like, we're just a bunch of children. It's phenomenal. And I thank you so much, chat. You're all amazing. I appreciate you coming up. I'm always so happy when somebody shows up into my chat. So I'm always surprised and happy. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for the shout outs that came in and everything else. And yeah, we will see you next time.